You know, sometimes the best lessons come from the most unexpected places. So, what can a lonely fire goddess possibly teach us about our own fears? Well, today we're going to dive into a really classic fairy tale to unpack this powerful message about friendship, power, and how we see the world. Let's get right into it.
Okay, so we're actually going to start this at the end. A little unconventional, I know. The story's big moral is this: fire is like a tiny dragon. It can be a warm, cuddly friend or a really dangerous enemy, and it all comes down to how you treat it. This one idea right here sets up the entire story's conflict between fear and respect.
All right, so let's set the scene and meet our main character. The story kicks off on top of this sleeping volcano, and that's where we meet Ember, the fire goddess. And right from the get-go, you realize her one defining trait is this deep, deep loneliness, and it comes directly from her own incredible power.
The story paints this amazing picture of her, Hair as red as an autumn sunset, eyes sparkling like literal embers, and a dress made of tiny dancing flames. I mean, wow. But here's the kicker, the real fascinating part. For all of her powerful, maybe even intimidating looks, what she wants more than anything is just companionship. She just wants to make some friends.
And this is where you really see the main problem, the core conflict of the whole story. Every single time Ember tries to reach out and connect with people, her power gets completely misunderstood. She tries to help the blacksmith light his forge, and whoops, she accidentally singes his beard. She wants to light the festival candles and they just explode into these massive torches. Her heart is in the right place, but the villagers, they only see the destruction. They only see the danger in her fire, and they just react with pure, terrified fear.
So you have to ask, right? How does this cycle of fear ever get broken? Well, this is where the story brings in a brand new character, an explorer named Sophie. And it's her curiosity that leads to this one encounter that is going to change, well, absolutely everything. And it all starts with something so simple, a little distraction. Sophie, this young explorer, she sees this beautiful, bright blue butterfly and just gets totally captivated. She follows it deeper and deeper into the forest, and then the sun starts to go down. Her fun little adventure suddenly takes a really dangerous turn. Now she's lost, and she is completely alone.
And just when you think it can't get any worse, it does. She's cold, she's scared, she's starting to lose hope, and then she stumbles and falls right into a dark hole. So it's right here, at her absolute lowest, most vulnerable point. She's cold, terrified, and trapped. That's when she finally meets the fire goddess.
And this scene, this is such a huge turning point. You have to imagine, right? Sophie's in this dark pit, expecting some scary monster to pop out. But instead, she finds this warm, smiling girl with a glowing dress. And her flames aren't scary or destructive at all. Ember just creates this small, gentle little campfire that the story says looks like blooming flowers. It's all about warmth, not danger. And this is it. For the very first time, someone is looking at Ember and not seeing a threat. They're seeing a helper.
So in return for this warmth and light, Sophie does something simple. She shares her cookies. And Ember's reaction, oh man, it's both heartbreaking and incredibly beautiful. She says, "This is the first time I've ever been given a cookie by a friend." Just that one line tells you everything you need to know about how lonely she's been. A simple cookie, a simple act of kindness, has just completely rocked her world.
But of course, the story doesn't just let them sit there and enjoy their cookies in peace, right? This brand new friendship is immediately, and I mean immediately, put to the test. A new threat shows up, and it forces them both to confront the true nature of Ember's power, right in the middle of a crisis.
So that nice warm moment of friendship is just shattered by this long, sharp howl in the distance. Wolves. Yep, the smell of those cookies has attracted predators, and all of a sudden, their cozy little safe spot is now under siege. And this isn't just a distant threat. It becomes very, very real. 3 huge gray wolves creep out of the shadows. The story even describes their sharp teeth glinting in the dark. So the danger is right there, it's immediate, and it triggers Ember's most basic protective instincts.
So what's Ember's first instinct? Go big. Unleash pure, unrestrained power. She throws her hands up, ready to summon this massive, destructive firestorm. It's the exact same kind of power that terrifies the villagers. I mean, sure, it might be effective, but it's also incredibly dangerous and totally uncontrolled.
But right then, Sophie steps in.
She pulls on Ember's arm and asks this question that is so simple but so important. She says, "So what do we do?" And that word, we, that's everything. It completely changes the game. It goes from being a solo act of destruction to a team effort, a collaborative, let's solve this problem together. This is the exact moment that wisdom gets introduced to power.
And Sophie, she has a plan, a much smarter plan. Instead of a massive fire that could burn down the whole forest, she suggests something different, a small, controllable flame on a branch, a torch. See, the goal isn't to destroy the wolves, it's to use fire's other superpower, its light, to simply scare them away. This is all about being precise and intelligent, not just using brute force. This moment right here, this is the real turning point for Ember's whole character. Because she listens to Sophie, because she learns to control her power, she starts on a totally new path. It's a journey where she's going to learn to earn the villagers' trust, but not with big, flashy displays of power. Nope, she's going to do it with small, thoughtful, helpful acts.
And as Ember and Sophie part ways, Ember shares this amazing piece of wisdom she's just learned. She gets it now. She understands that you can't just flip a switch on deep-seated fear. It doesn't happen overnight. It's got to be a slow, gentle process. Kind of like tending a small fire to keep its warmth going for a long time without letting it rage out of control.
And we get to see this new approach in action almost right away. First, in a small way, she sends this tiny, controlled little pink flame to help Sophie's mom heat up a pot of soup. Just a gentle, helpful thing to do. But then comes a much bigger test. There's a real fire at the village grain store, and Ember confronts it. But instead of fighting it, she absorbs it. She takes in all those destructive flames and transforms them into these harmless, beautiful, twinkling lights. And the result? It's undeniable. The grain store is only a little scorched, and the village's entire food supply is safe. So you see, Ember didn't just fight fire with more fire. She mastered it. She proved that her power, when it's guided by care and control, could be a force for protection, not destruction.
And all of this brings us to the story's big finish, the resolution. The villagers see what she did, they witness her actions, and their whole perception of her finally starts to shift. And that leads us to the central lesson that this entire story has been building up to.
When you really think about it, fire in this story is a metaphor, right? It's a stand-in for any kind of power. When it's unchecked, when it's just driven by pure emotion, it's destructive. But when that same power is guided by a little wisdom, by friendship, and by respect, it becomes a tool that can warm and light things up and protect.
And that right there is the ultimate transformation in the story. The villagers, they don't scream and run away anymore. Their whole relationship with Ember, and really with fire itself, it evolves. They stop seeing her as this monster to be afraid of, and they start seeing her as a protector, someone to be respected.
So that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. The story of Ember, it's about way more than just a magical fire goddess. It's really asking us to look around at the powerful forces in our own world, people or ideas or even strong emotions, that we might be totally misjudging just because we're afraid of them. So, the question to leave you with is this. What are the fires in our own lives that we misunderstand out of fear? And what would it take for us to start seeing them with respect instead?